mentioned before, DO Lagos 15 is a credit that you can use. So go create droplets, play around with stuff. We'll try and do demos here so people can sort of follow along with them. So feel free.
So even before we start, you can like go to the DigitalOcean website, sign up with an account, and then
use the code. And also if you're tweeting, hashtagging, Instagramming, that's the hashtag. DO Lagos Meetup.
So while we're waiting for the microphone, just sign up for DigitalOcean. So I'm going to do a little demo today just to play around with DigitalOcean. By the way, I don't know whether I've used any other cloud provider from DigitalOcean before today. You want to share the one you've used? Just the name of the.
Well, I've used Rackspace, I've used Amazon, I've used
Azure, okay.
I've used Space.
But you've not used DigitalOcean?
I've used it since inception.
Oh, okay. Who else? Heroku. Just create your stuff and move, no stress. Alright. Who else want to share the tool that he has used? Any cloud provider that you've used apart from DigitalOcean? Okay, alright. Sorry? How much data are you using? Which one about
100 naira, this? Really? 1, 2.
Okay, so today we are looking more on
1, 2, 1, 2.
So for those just working in, you can sign up for DigitalOcean and then use the code there. This is for the DO Lagos 15.
Should us.
All right, we are going to sign up. Can I move on? Have we all signed up? It's not working. What is the error message? It worked for you, right? All right, someone have signed up.
This is for people that have never used DigitalOcean before.
Oh, I see.
Not for existing users.
Gotcha. So sign up with that credit. All right, this is basically who I am. Nothing much. All right, how many of us have heard about Hacktoberfest? So someone shared it with me, I think 2 weeks ago. So who have you created any pull requests? Are you on to win a shirt?
Yeah, I've sent some.
How many? 4? Gotcha. Who else? Wow, guys are really aware here. I see. So Hacktoberfest is something created by DigitalOcean just to basically drive open source contributions, right? So you just look for any issue open on GitHub, solve that issue, and then send a PR. And if you can get 4 before October 31st, I think you would win a shirt from DigitalOcean, right? So it's just for us to just be aware and do stuff. So you can go to that link and then send your PRs in. It helps you to also learn how to contribute to the open source community, and who knows, you could get on some new careers from there. All right, so this is our agenda for today. Reflections, what is immutable infrastructure, Packer as a tool, Packer and DigitalOcean, and then questions. So this is a question for us, right? And I need responses. It will be more of an interactive session than like speaker to audience. So when last did you configure a server at work, personal projects, and how did you get that server up and running? All right.
Well, I still set up server last week Friday.
Okay.
So basically, what I use is I use that one to LAMP virtual appliance.
So can you hear me? I don't know. Okay.
So basically, I use Turnkey virtual Turnkey LAMP appliance. What I just need to do is select my server size, select the image, and then load the image on the server. So from there on, I need to just to configure my SQL, the Apache, and and all that. So it's since I'm using a Linux appliance, it's much more easier.
Okay.
When you just you load just the operating system and you have to start downloading RAM separately or you download RAM stack itself. So this already comes with the RAM stack.
Everything.
So, already comes with RAM stack. So all you just need to do is just put in your password for your own password for MySQL, password for the server and all that.
Gotcha.
That's it.
All right, cool. By the way, how many of us here does not know what a server is or an instance? Sorry, I'm asking, so that we'll carry everybody along. Sorry, I'm asking. If you've just been writing your code and you don't really know, you don't really care about where it gets to, please just indicate how we can bring you up to speed. Anyone? So we are all good. All right, good stuff. So sorry to come back. So if that server, if it crashes today, how quickly can you bring it back up?
Okay, but that's for the server that I did for idea. So there's also that DigitalOcean has that kind of feature whereby you take a snapshot.
Okay.
As you create a server,
Cool.
you're keeping a snapshot.
Cool.
Because
Cool.
you're backing up your own code.
Cool.
So if your snapshot is pretty recent and your back crashes, you can really restore from
Exactly. Exactly.
If it's not so recent, then you can restore from your own back.
Right, cool. So what you just shared about snapshots basically covers what we're going to look at today, right? And we're going to build those images. So on you have a server, and the server is just like every other system, right? Your laptops, but in the cloud, somewhere in Singapore, somewhere in London, somewhere in Europe, right? To configure that laptop or that machine in the cloud, you need to install stuff on it. You need to run some commands, right? And most times, we find out that when you want to set up those servers, you basically log into them and then run your commands manually. It doesn't scale when you're working with systems that have been accessed by a lot of people, right? When there are issues, you want to just SSH into your server, start running commands. It does not really scale. So that is the reason why there are tools like Packer. There's also Docker for you to automate those installations, automate your image creation, so that even when the server crashes, you can quickly replicate or recreate that server without necessarily panicking. So we're going to look at more of that today. So this is basically what most of us do. And as we progress, as we grow in managing servers, you need to move away from this and ensure that you test whatever command or whatever thing you want to install on your server before installing them. All right, what is immutable infrastructure? I believe we all know what an infrastructure is, and immutability is to, if you look at the grammar. So basically, something being immutable means it shouldn't change. It shouldn't change over time. It should kind of be stable, right? Am I correct? The English people in the house. It should kind of be stable over time, right? So does that mean that when you have your instance up and running, or when you have a server up and running, you shouldn't update it, you shouldn't install stuff? No. In this case, immutable infrastructure means that even if you want to install stuff, or you want to update your server, you want to install the latest version of MySQL or Postgres or PHP, you need to ensure that those changes are versioned. Now, take for instance, you come on board as a DevOps engineer or a server admin or whatever the name is in a company, and because the guy who was there before you didn't document all his processes, because he just manually went to the server, ran system restarts, nginx, install apt-get, install PHP, and all of that. He ran those commands. They're all in his head. Now, you come in as a new guy, you don't even know all he has done so far, right? You need to start digging deep or start doing some trial and error in order to figure out what he has done so far, right? So that means that for everything we do on our instance or on a server, those names are used interchangeably, right? You need to ensure that it's documented. And there are third-party tools that can help you to document and also connect to your cloud instances. And one of them is Packer. So we've talked about this. So we have here, for you to have an immutable infrastructure, the changes must be controlled, it must be versioned, it must be repeatable, and it shouldn't drift away from the specs you've defined earlier, right? There are cases where your server is just, your app is running on the server, and after a while, it just stops. And nobody went into the server to do any configuration, nobody touched anything, and it just stops. Okay. And it just stops, right? That means things were not done properly initially. All right, when should we use an immutable infrastructure? Every time. All right, so these are some benefits. So this is just basically still the grammar side. These are some benefits that you can gain by having an immutable infrastructure and using tools like Packer to build your machine images, right? You can test your infrastructure. What does that mean? Before you, let's say there's a new project in your company and you're supposed to install or create a lot of things, right? You don't want to go into your cloud provider dashboard, maybe AWS or DigitalOcean, and start doing stuff that could ramp up cost very quickly. You can use other tools like Packer and even Vagrant locally, still built by the same guys. Create your images, test them out. Does it meet my requirements? Does it work the way it should work? Before you finally take it to the server. And that same image that you've created using a tool like Packer can also be shared to other people. Your developers can use it, your operations guys can use it to do whatever they want to do, right? So that is one of the importance of having an immutable infrastructure with a tool like Packer. Of course, reproduce production environments, confidence changes, because you have everything documented. I don't know how many of us have used APIs that are not well documented. I know how it feels very sad, right? You want to kill that guy that did it. So as much as you want to take offense against someone who have done an API and didn't document it, you yourself, you need to also ensure that you document whatever you do, right? Easy to scale, avoiding key man syndrome. Now, something that happens in a lot of companies today is that one guy will just come around, one very good guy, because he knows it all in his head, he goes ahead to do those things, right, on your server, and nobody else knows what he's doing. Now, when that guy decides to leave your company, or go on leave, or is even sick, or travels out, you can imagine what will happen. That means everything would practically stall, which doesn't make sense. So I believe all of us here, one day we're going to own companies, startups, and all of that. It's advisable to enforce that whoever is in charge of anybody on a project, especially the cloud side, should document whatever he does. And one of the ways of doing that is using tools provided, such as Packer. That will help you to eliminate key man syndrome, so that when the guy goes, someone else can come on board, look at what he has done, and then take off from there. So we are going to look at how to do all of those and see how it works. All right. How many of us have used Docker before? Docker guys. So you want to share with us how Docker relates to Packer? I don't know. Share with us. Who wants to share? Who wants to share with us? Because I know some of us have used Docker and you're wondering what the hell is Packer? Why should I use Packer to build stuff? Anyone? Okay. Have anyone used Docker in the house? Docker. I want to share. Okay, all right. Okay, yeah, you can go on. Okay, you've used it before. So I want to share how it relates to Packer and building images that can scale.
All right, so this is like my first time hearing about Packer. So, but what I can say about Docker is more like containerization. Pretty much allows to isolate environment. So you can simulate what you have on the server by creating images. So image is just pretty much defining what your environment packages you need for. For example, maybe you're giving out a Node.js application or a Ruby application or Python Django or Flask application. And you do not want to use your local hosts because you don't want to see and corrupt your environment locally in the system. So you want to isolate your environment, use Docker, create an image. Your image defines the dependencies you need. Like you install certain dependencies, like maybe you get an YouTube
OS into your Docker image, or maybe Debian or Red Hat, whatever it is, and then install like other dependencies. Maybe you need like extra commands to run, like shell scripts to run. You can also like connect all of that using your Docker image. I mean, the Docker image pretty much gives all the container, and within that container, all your process gets to run. And it has really nothing to do with your local host. It just Docker acts like it would be your local host using an device. So in general, we use your Docker for containerization and in form of version issue.
Okay, good.
Just to separate process.
Okay, good. So that means when you're using Docker, you also need to know how to Dockerize your app, right? To align with that. Good stuff. So Packer, what Packer has done is, okay, guys, you can build your image using Packer, right? And if when you're not ready to use Docker, because Docker requires certain skills to use, right? You need to know how to Dockerize your app. You need to know all of that. I think I listed some of them here. So what Packer is saying, if you're not ready for all of that, you can build those images using Packer, use shell scripts to install whatever you want to install, and when you're ready to port to Docker, you can also do that seamlessly. We would see that shortly. All right, so this is what we're going to do today. We've touched upon that. So these are some terms that we are going to play around with today. Droplets. So DigitalOcean calls their servers or their instances droplets. If you go to a place like AWS, they call theirs EC2 instances. You go to Google Cloud, they call theirs compute engine. So today we're going to talk more about droplets because the event is powered by DigitalOcean. Variables. So Packer has variables, builders, provisioners, and then post-processors. I think the names are pretty clear. For builders, so they have a lot of builders. You can go to packer.io to look at the builders they have. They have a lot of builders, which basically means which of the providers are you building for? Are you building for DigitalOcean? Are you building for AWS? Are you building for Azure? Are you building for Rackspace? Whatever it is. So they have all of those builders listed there. Today we're going to look at DigitalOcean builder because that is why we are here. Then you have provisioners, right? Apart from those builders, provisioners will help you to install whatever you need to install on your machine image. So you want to install, today we're going to look at how to install Nginx using Bash. So provisioners, you can use things like shell scripts, Bash, Ansible, Chef, all of that to set up your image the way it should be. All these things just basically helps you to document whatever you're doing so that whenever someone else comes to take over from you or see what you're doing, there are no loopholes, nothing is hidden, right? It helps for transparency too. Then we'll have post-processors. Now for that, you remember earlier I mentioned that after building your images, you can decide to port those images to maybe Docker. You can decide to port them to Vagrant and then give your developers a .iso file or whatever so they can spin up a Vagrant box and work locally. By so doing, you have an environment that is similar to what you have on production. If I'm moving too fast, please call me back and you can ask questions too, right? Any questions from anybody? Sorry for moving too fast. Any questions? I can go on. All right, cool. So the post-processors allows you to port those Packer images you've built to somewhere like Vagrant or push them to Docker, right? So we're going to look at variables, builders, and then provisioners for our demo today. All right, these are like some stats for Packer, and the usage have been cool so far. So this is a flow of how Packer really works. So I mentioned builders just now. So you have DigitalOcean, Amazon EC2, Azure, and then you have a Docker builder too. Provisioners, you have a file provisioner. Maybe you want to upload a file from local to the cloud or to your image. You can use the provisioner for file. We have Shell, Ansible, PowerShell. How many of us here have used any of these provisioners before? Maybe maybe Ansible or PowerScript or Chef. Any other person? So that it's not as if we are talking to people who have not used them before. Okay, people have used them. Okay, cool. All right. Then we'll have post-processors, Vagrant. Then you can also compress images you build, right?
I just want to clarify, because when you said provisionals, file provisionals, what I'm thinking of you meant is, okay, you want to, for instance, okay, like a standard process is for you to first, okay, create an instance. Let's say create an instance, install lab,
Okay.
then install maybe Nginx, something like that. So you have all that commands written in the file.
Okay.
Is that going by a file provisioner or the shell provisioner? We have that written and then.
Okay, for the file, what I mean by file provisioner, what Packer built into their file provisioner is, you want to upload a certain file. You know, now, okay, maybe I should like take a step backward. Let me explain how Packer really works, right? Now, when you run a Packer command, maybe Packer build or Packer build, for instance, what Packer will do is, it would connect to your cloud provider, DigitalOcean or AWS. It will spin up an instance or a droplet, as the case may be. It will apply those commands you specified in your JSON file, run them on that instance, and when it installs properly, it would destroy that instance and create your image or your snapshot. I don't know, does that make sense? So as part of those installations, those tests that Packer does on your cloud instance, it could be to upload a certain file that you want to display or you want it to do something on your server. For instance, in this case, we are going to basically upload some configuration files for Nginx and then an HTML file just to display stuff, right? Does that help? So the shell script now helps you to run some more commands. You want to do sudo apt-get install nginx. You have to use a shell script for that, or you want to use some other scripting languages for that. Does that help? All right, cool. Any more questions? Any more questions from anybody? Why are we so quiet? All right, cool.
So, does Packer have like utility to execute commands directly on servers?
Yes, yes, it does, and that's only at the point of creating your image. After that, that's all. It doesn't keep track of what your image looks like or what your instance looks like. It destroys those instances it creates. Right? It destroys them. Does that answer your question? Answers, right? Cool. Another question? You raise your hand. Okay. So are we good? Can we move on? All right. So this is how Packer basically works. So these are some steps we are going to basically look at. So you can install Packer if you can just check out the link there to install Packer on your machine, be it Windows, be it Mac OS X, or be it a VM box. You can install that, and then I've put up like a demo, whatever, a demo GitHub repo that we can clone. So you can also clone that as I move along the code base, you can relate and understand properly. And of course, the slides will be made available after the talk. All right, let's see. Is it visible enough? Or is dark? Sorry, can we see the screen properly from the back?
You don't have to rush, oh. Yeah, take your time. You don't have to rush.
Okay. Does it look? Okay, the red text. I should do what? Command. Light. This one, right? Yeah. Thank you. All right. All right, so this is a typical packer. So, okay, the question. Is there a Wi-Fi connection that you can connect to? All right, I saw you writing like, should I like go back to the previous slide? Oh, you're fine. You're fine. All right, cool. So there's no Wi-Fi, sorry, I don't know. But for those just joining, we have a free DigitalOcean credit that you can sign up with on DigitalOcean without your card. I know you're afraid of using our cards online, right? Oh, really? I see, gotcha. Just be your card now, nothing much. But the thing is, when you are done creating anything on DigitalOcean, make sure you terminate it, right? So that you're not, thanks. So that you not get billed unnecessarily, right? So let me just show the code again for those that just joined. So that's the code, D0 Lagos 15. D0 Lagos 15. So you can go sign up. All right. All right, so for our demo, we will need an active DigitalOcean account and Packer. How many of us have installed Packer yet? Have you installed Packer? Bring install Packer, or you download your own binary from packer.io. Straightforward. Then you can clone the repo also from GitHub. Does Git clone the repo? Yeah, that's it. That's it. All right, so I was here. So if you look over here, you would see, I mentioned earlier, and of course, all these things are available in documentation, right? They are all on Packer documentation, so you can look it up and even improve on it. So as you can see here, we are defining that. So this is just basically a JSON array where you have the keys and then the values. So you have type DigitalOcean. So we are basically saying for this our script, the type we want to build an image on DigitalOcean. API token. Now remember that there needs to be a handshake from your cloud provider, in this case DigitalOcean, and then your local system, because you are running the command locally, right? So that is what that API token is. Do not expose your token from DigitalOcean. So let's see.
Screencast.
Screencast.
So you are doing stuff.
Okay, it's recording. Okay, so he wants to do stuff to record what I'm saying. So as I was saying earlier, if you create a token on any cloud provider, maybe DigitalOcean, AWS, do not expose those tokens, because once someone has access to the token, they can do stuff on your account without necessarily having your username and password. So that is why you need to ensure that you secure those tokens. So I would show you one in a jiffy. Can I go on? All right, so this is the API token. There are various ways to define it. You can define it as an environment variable. You can be in your scripts. You can define it you can define it on your system environment itself, right? Just export or set anyone. But for me, I've just used this file to define mine, right? So when I'm running my command, I'll basically reference variables.json. Let me show, I believe we all know how to create. Okay, let me just go to DigitalOcean and check something. 1 second. So this is DigitalOcean. This is my own account. So this, when you sign up on DigitalOcean, you input the code that was shown earlier or your card. This is the dashboard you will land on. Very simple, very cool, right? Very simple interface here. To create your own key, just go to API and then generate new token. right? So I've already created one, which I'm going to use to establish that handshake between my local system and DigitalOcean. So I've already created one here, so you can go ahead and create yours. So just generate new token, call it whatever name, and then you generate it, right? And ensure that those tokens, you don't expose them, because once someone gains access to those tokens, they can actually hamper your account. They can do stuff on your account, which doesn't make sense. All right, so let's go back. So that is this token here, which is available on my variables.json file. Then you have size. What is the size of the instance you want to run your image on? Remember, we are creating an image that can be used across more than one instance on our account. Does that go down well? We are creating an image, and an image is basically those softwares, those configurations that your server or your instance or your droplets, in the case of DigitalOcean, would use. That's what we are doing. Does that go down well? All right. So you are saying, I want that instance or DigitalOcean droplets to be of size 512. They have various sizes. Let's see. They have various sizes of droplets. And then this is the image. Ubuntu 17, 64 bits. There are various images. So while I was like using the tool, I realized that some commands did not work as they should on Ubuntu 14, Ubuntu 16. So it took me a while to discover that, but I kept moving. It took me a while to discover that, but I kept moving, and then I got to 17, and everything worked fine. When we'll get to the bash script I wrote to actually run those images, I will show you how I actually discovered what the issue was, right? So Ubuntu 14, and of course, when Packer is running, I said that Packer creates an instance or a server for you so that it can run your commands, Nginx, MySQL, whatever, against that instance. If everything works fine, it terminates the instance and builds your image for you, right? So for us to be able to run commands on that instance, of course, we have to be able to log into the instance. And in this case, we've set the username, which is root. And then this is the region. And this is the name we want to call that instance. So UUID basically means for every Packer command I run, just append some random names on this. So it could be anything. Maybe we should name ours root short it. Root short it. So it will just append a random name to root short it, right? Now I also mentioned about provisioners. So we have our builders, we have provisioners, right? And then we have the variable. Cool. Now, provisioners is basically, after creating that image, what do you want to install on that image? What do you want to happen? Do you want to just get a bare image that has nothing, right? Which is of course possible. But you want something to happen on that image. Are you running a Go project or a Golang project or a PHP project or Java or JavaScript? What exactly? So all of that would inform what you would do on your provisioners section. Now in this case, we are basically installing Nginx. That's all we are doing. So I have a script here which does that for us. So this is a basic bash script. Sorry, 1 second. Let me just explain what happens here. This is our provisioner, right? We are saying the type of provisioner is what? File. And earlier I explained what a file provisioner is, which is basically you want to move some files from your local to that instance that Packer will create temporarily to run your image or to provision your image or whatever. And then this is the source, and this is just a source of my local, on my system, config. And you know, when an instance is created, a Linux instance, there's a default folder /temp where it stores temporary images. Do you all agree? Right? So I'm saying here, this is the source. Take it from my system and upload on the /temp folder on the server. so that afterwards I can do away with it. I don't need it. It's just to install and test my image, right? Does that make sense? Cool. All right. And after that, I want to also run another script or another provision on that instance, and that is to configure Nginx. So this is the script here. We will just take a look at what the script looks like. So this is a basic bash script, right? This is a basic bash script that have you start your shenbang here. You are saying here you should sleep for 30 seconds so that all of that things that we install before the script start running can actually execute properly. And then I mentioned earlier that you need to know what Packer is doing, right? You need to understand what Packer is doing at what point. Now, that is what I've done with the set E command. So these are all best practices for a bash script, right? Set E, set O, and set X. Set E is just basically saying, if Packer is running this script and any of my commands fail, please exit, don't continue, so that you won't build half-baked images for me. Set OPI fail is saying, if a previous command that ran did not execute correctly or did not return a status of 0, also exit. And then set X will basically tell us what stage our command is on. We are going to see all of that. And we're going to remove we'll possibly remove one of the lines here or comment it out and then see what happens, right? So set X is saying, at every stage, show me the command that is currently running. So after that, you have functions to install, to update this with the Y flag. Don't ask me any question. Install Nginx, start Nginx, then create some directories on that instance you are going to spin up to test my image, right? Create some directories in there. Then copy some files from etc from the Nginx config file to some other folders, right? Yeah. And then at this point, you call your functions. Any questions so far? Any questions? Any confusion so far? All right. So this basically says, start my scripts from main. That's what it's saying. So this is kind of synonymous to other programming language, but you have to explicitly tell the scripts to start from main. Other languages, you can have a main function and automatically knows that it will start from there, but bash scripts will not know where to start from. So you have to tell it where to start from, right? Okay. So what we want to achieve now is to spin up an image on DigitalOcean, create an instance with that image, and then display a basic HTML file. So I have my HTML file here. Where are you? So remember that in my template.json, I'm uploading the config folder to a temporary folder, right? And as part of my config, I have this. Welcome to DigitalOcean Meetup and all of that. So I want to upload this to the server so that when I want to upload it to my image, so that when I create a server out of that image, I can have this displayed in there. Does that go down well? All right. So we'll go to this. Sorry. All right. So I would let's see. Sorry. Sorry. Is it? Can we see my screen? Let me just make it bigger. It's clear, right? Yeah. All right, cool. So this is the GitHub repo I asked you guys to clone. If you've cloned it, you can. So this is the content of my file. So I have variables.json file, I have template.json file, and we've all looked at this file in our VS Code. I have the config folder, I have my scripts, right? Now, So for you to, after writing your JSON file, where you define your providers and your provisioners, you need to validate that that script is actually or would execute properly. And to validate that, you simply run. To do that, you simply run packer validate and then the script name. Right? Okay, I need to specify. I need to remember that in my file here, I didn't put in my API token directly, right? So I want to validate this script, and Packer is telling me that I've not defined this. So which means I need to reference my variables file. So to reference that, I simply run Packer validate. I put a flag, a variable flag. The mic is gone. Mic check. I put a variable flag file, and then I put the name of the file, variables.json. Oh, so thanks a lot. Thanks a lot. All right. So I also have to include the name of my template, which is template.json, right? So when I do that, oh, gotcha, thanks. All right. So that means at this point, Packer have created a handshake with my account on DigitalOcean, and I've said, okay, guy, you're good to go with this your command, right? So let's do something. Let's remember I explained reasons why we should have things like set E or set X. Let us comment out our set X and see what happens. And then afterwards, okay, no, let's just leave it. Let's leave it and run. Let's just run. So to build your scripts, you run Packer build, and of course, reference your variable var-file equal to variables.json, and then, template, right? So I want us to kind of like monitor what really goes on there. All right. So at this point, it's creating a droplet, right, on DigitalOcean, where it will apply those commands that you've written in your shell script. It would run those commands against the droplets created. So apparently, okay, so we can check out DigitalOcean now and see a droplet that is being created. So you can see that it's spinning up a droplet on DigitalOcean right now, almost active. So it's now active, and I guess this should respond and move on. So after creating the droplet, it will try to SSH into that droplet using the root username that we mentioned earlier, so that you can go into the droplet, run those commands against the droplet, and then once everything works fine, it destroys the droplet. So you can see we specify this provision and it's executing it currently, uploading config folder from our local system to /temp on the Linux server on DigitalOcean. Then it has gone to the next provision, which is using our shell script configure nginx.sh. So you would see at every stage, because we've specified our set X, it tells you the function or the command that it is running at every stage. So that is going. Let's just go back. All right. So you know in our script we have this. We have this, echo this, and then we have this. So this is the next function to run, which is main. It gets to this, and until it gets to the end of your function, If there's an error, of course it will exit. So let's see what happens. Now, all of these are from our bash scripts, update system, apt-get. So it tells you what command is running at every stage. And it really helps because when you have errors in your script, when you're building a very large script, if you don't explicitly define what commands you are running, you won't even know where the error is coming from, right? So it's good to set up all of that. So let's see how far we've gone. So it has gotten to this point, and it's shutting down the droplets now. So once it's shut down, it will now spin up your image. So you can see the images on the image tab on DigitalOcean. DO is always messing up. All right, so that is our, nope. An image cannot have an IP address, sorry. All right, this is our image. So it's still, I guess it's still creating our image. So once it's done, we can now create an instance using that image. So that if tomorrow or next week, your instance or your server have issues, you don't need to worry. Just come and recruit another server from this particular image, right? And if you also want to install more tools or more whatever on your server, you don't just go to the server directly to install it. You also create an image, just like we've done, and then use that image to create an instance. That kind of works better, and then you won't have lots of issues. Let's see how far our scripts have gone. Okay, still waiting. Still waiting for. So snapshots is what DigitalOcean calls those images we're talking about. They are all snapshots. All right, so it has created a new snapshot for us, which is this. So it's done. So we can create an instance or a droplet from this image. So to do that, you simply click on More, Create Droplet. So let me select the list here. Any region can go. And then just put a name there. So I want to make this a bit shorter. So you can put any name that describes what you are doing, right? You can put any name. Then I create. So we expect to see our Nginx installed. We also expect to see the HTML file in there, right? Yeah, those two things should be there for us. Yeah, I need to get the password to the droplet so I can edit a certain file. Sorry, my bag. It's not this one. I'm almost done. Sorry. Just need this. Sorry. All right. Our droplet is done creating. I don't know. Are we all following, or we have some questions? All right, so if we go to this IP address, you can also check it out on your side. So we have Nginx already installed. So with this, you didn't have to log into the server manually, run those commands, and lots of stress. You can also go back to your script, as we did, and build all of those instances. So remember, our goal is to have that HTML file, which is this. Where is it? Which is this. To show, right? So to do that, we have to edit our Nginx configuration to point to our IP address. So let me get the password to that. One sec. So because once DigitalOcean creates a new server for you, it sends the password and username to your email address. So this is a lesson system, so it goes into my own email address. So I'm checking it out now. Let's see. Password is pretty long. Okay. How can I get this password now? All right, let me go to my terminal first. So I would SSH root at the IP address. So I'm trying to get the password. Let me see if I can type it from here. Hopefully I won't make errors. 5, it's longer. 58B. 58B. Let me just type it somewhere. Type it somewhere. Oh. 58B. FC40, FC4014. DA 0. So listen, is there a way I can send this mail to your site so I can just get the password straight up? Sorry. So I want to get this. I want to get this password. Can I just send the mail to your site, or I don't know?
To my what?
Or maybe I send it to your Twitter. Is your Twitter open here?
Okay.
And just Twitter, just to.
Hold on. Send it to my WhatsApp. Yeah.
Okay, so I'll send it already to your WhatsApp. I'll send it. So just to copy it and that. So just copy and paste it from somewhere.
It's already on my WhatsApp. Let's just look at my browser.
Okay, this is it. Oh.
This is it.
Yeah. Okay. Cool.
This is it.
Yeah. Enter.
Please just round up.
All right. Let's see. Sorry for the delay. All right. So let me enter a new password. All right, so I want to edit our Nginx config file. So that should be in etc Nginx. Yeah. So let me edit this. Let me get the IP address. And then paste it here. All right. So after editing, I just restart Nginx. Sudo systemctl restart Nginx. So that the file I change can take effect. So that is done. So if we refresh this, yep. So that's our HTML page. So we've been able to move the HTML file or whatever we want to install from our local to the server, and then we didn't really have to enter the server to run commands or install stuff, and we have an HTML file display. So which really kind of helps. At the very first time when you're doing it, it's kind of stressful, but subsequently when you want to move, like scale your instances and all of that, it really helps to automate these things. So yeah, that's it. Questions, comments? All right. So questions, comments? All right, shoot.
If you want to change the HTML file, you have to push the
If you want to do what? Change
the HTML file. Because you publish the new version of whatever was sent to you. You have to like run the entire thing again.
Yes, you have to, because Packer doesn't keep track of what your image looks like when it gets to DigitalOcean. Once it finishes the creation, it doesn't really keep that track or any state. So you have to like update your local configuration or your HTML file and then build again. And then delete the former one. So let me go and delete.
You delete whatever has been done before, runs everything again, without any changes.
Sorry?
Like you delete whatever it has done before, like reconfigures any changes and all that.
Okay, no, it doesn't even know what has been done before. Like once the guy is once he creates the very first one, he forgets about the guy he has created. So if you want to build or update your image with a new software, you have to create another image that is different. Of course, you still have a template that you installed on the previous image. So it's just to go and update your template and then create a new image. And then you have to go and destroy the former one because it will ramp up costs for you on your server.
How about the assuming engine is already downloaded the previous image?
Sorry?
If there's the engines,
And okay.
it's part of the previous image, you need to download it again on your server.
No, if it's already on the image, you know you cannot really update that particular image again. The one you've done now, this one we've created now. Let me see. Okay, it's here. The image you created here, Packer doesn't know about that image anymore. It only knew about it at that point when it was still running. Running here. Where is it? Running here. So when it got to this point, it forgot about that image. So it doesn't keep track, it doesn't update it, it doesn't know about it. So if you want to update an image, or you want to maybe install something else, or install maybe Postgres on that same image, you have to come to your script. You have to come to your script, write commands that can install Postgres on your image, and then build an entirely new image, right? Take for instance, now, Packer can also be like initiated during deployment, right? When you want to deploy and who knows, you have something new coming in. You want to be able to like provision new images for every new build so that you have a clean state and a clean environment. So it doesn't keep track of previous images built, yeah. Unlike, okay, continue.
When you say images, does Packer use Docker?
Sorry?
Does Packer use Docker to process images?
Exactly. So you can also have Docker images built with Packer, right? That's on the builder side, and you can also post-process a Packer image to a Docker repository, right? It allows you using post processors. I didn't touch on that today. Using Packer post, yeah, they have post processor to do that. Yeah, thanks.
This is more or less like a DevOps operation, not really developers, because the way I see the application for this is that, okay, it's a project sometimes that you want to make changes to your server online, and you have to like maintain another droplet in digital, for instance, and then instead of you wrapping up costs, testing first on one droplet before moving to that droplet, you can have that on your test environment. So have all so one actually okay, all the builds are okay. Maybe you get Nginx, some other core libraries and all that. So have that test. So you can just send that straight.
Exactly.
Business packet straight to the what's it called,
the cloud server
account at a particular time, 12 a.m. you drop the ongoing, the running server, and then just upload it. And
Why 12 a.m. now when everybody's asleep, Abi? Now, I think second speaker will be talking about Terraform, right? Now, I've built this image using Packer. Terraform is used to to create instances on your cloud provider, like create droplets, create EC2 instances, S3 or GCP buckets or whatever. Now, he can use Terraform now. And instead of going manually to create and add images, he can use Terraform to, he can use this image I've created, the name of the image, and just apply it. And he can create a droplet on DigitalOcean using my image. I don't know, does that go down well? I'm saying the next speaker will talk about Terraform. It's a tool that allows you to provision or create infrastructure automatically. Now, you know, we talked about creating machine images, which is the OS or the software that your servers run on, right? So he can use that and create. So I'm just linking the two together so that we can all understand and can drive them properly, right? Any more questions? I think my time is up. All right, thanks a lot, guys.